in order to create clicks, there's headlines, real estate prices are going to come down. Commissions to agents are gone. Like, it's the most ludicrous stuff that has no basis in reality. And at the end of the day, as a buyer, especially a first-time home buyer, it's not that you want this representation because you're going to get, the best price. You're going to be able to negotiate repairs. You're going to have all the legal jargon explained to you. You're going to be protected. You need it. You really, really need it.
Alrighty, folks, it is Fed Day. We're actually recording this 1 hour before the announcement. So it comes out at 11. We're recording this at 10. We will talk about Fed Day, get our guesses, our expectations. But I actually want to talk to Matt, the mortgage guy, about the Nar settlement, because as a lender, I think he will be in the throes of it, and he talks with agents all the time. So what have you been hearing, Matt? Nar settlement, agents scared, running away, excited? What's going on?
Yeah, it's really interesting topic. And, some people I talk to are like, hey, we've already been dealing with this. There's already been talks around this. And some of them are saying it won't go into effect until July. And the agents who I tend to agree with are like, we're not going to stop doing business. We're not going to let this change or potential change stop us from doing what we do, which is support home buyers, educate home buyers, guide home buyers. And so the funny part is, me and you were talking offline, I'm talking to 8 to 10 real estate agents a day, and it's calling on an offer that went out, checking base on a pre-approval. And so these last couple days, since this settlement, talk and all the clickbait headlines started last Friday, and I just asked them, what are your thoughts? What is your broker saying? Good things are going to come out of this for sure. And I think that was like the main message I got. If people aren't familiar with buyer broker agreements, basically when you're going to work with a buyer, you have them sign an agreement that says, I'm going to pour energy, time, resources into you. I'm your agent. Sign here. If you buy something within the next 6 to 12 months, or whatever that term may be, I'm going to be compensated for my services, which I think even before it was a popular thing was a good idea. And, the change now might be that instead of the status quo of the seller's always going to sell this, there's going to be circumstances where, wait, the seller is not going to pay it, or they're going to pay a smaller portion of it, and you might come out of pocket. I honestly think when all is said and done and all of this shakes out, Mike, that sellers, especially those who talk to an agent who can communicate value and kind of show the benefits of the agent commissions that are involved in real estate transactions, it's going to be just like it's always been done. And like when I was talking about, I'm not an agent, right? I'm just a mortgage advisor, works with buyers, but I'm around real estate transactions. I still know, and I love numbers. Numbers is my gig. For sale by owner would be a lot more popular if they sold for the same price that they sold for if an agent was involved and you didn't pay a commission. But if historically for sale by owner sells for 85% of what is the price you get when you sell it on market with an agent who markets it, who shares it with their database, who does all the things that create this number, 100 minus 6% commission is greater than 85.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
one of the things I wanted to ask you about this, because I think there is one party that's injured a lot, and I needed to get your insight on this, and that is first-time home buyers, and specifically VA buyers. As I understand the process, and you're the mortgage guy here, I'm just a guy that tends to be one occasionally, I guess. VA buyers, they can't bring any cash to closing, right?
Well, not that they can't bring cash to closing. There's excluded things that they can and cannot pay for.
That's what it was. Yeah, that's what. So excluded, whatever they're called, transactions or whatever.
Yeah, I don't know the exact word for it too, but like they can't pay the buy side agent. And to your point, VA buyers or first time home buyers that are using FHA or conventional, these are the buyers that have, the least amount, of ability to
Yeah.
bring this money out of pocket and pay. And so I've heard this a lot and I agree with it 100%. The Mike Zubers of the world, seasoned investors of the world, can operate on their own. And they don't,
Right.
you don't need the expertise and the representation on the buy side nearly as much as a first-time home buyer, nearly as much as, somebody who's trying to, learn their way through what, real estate transaction involves, like FHA buyers and whatnot. And so like, they're the ones that are really going to suffer. Some of the feedback I got yesterday, and I thought it was good, was that right now, that 80-20 rule that exists in everything, where 20% of the agents are doing 80% of the business. An agent I talked to said, this might make it to where 10% of agents are doing 90% of the business.
Oh,
because
wow.
if only the most seasoned listing agents get listings, and then that turns into representing some buyers, because buyers are going to let more dual agency happen where they're representing seller and buyer.
Right.
A lot of agents, especially the great ones, feel like this is going to be a good thing. And so, I'm an eternal optimist, Mike. I'm going to find the silver lining in anything. If at the end of the day, the consumer gets only the best, most knowledgeable realtors working on the transaction, that's a good thing. And I think that there's so much of this that, one, is yet to be determined. And two, when you talk about agent commissions, any agent will tell you they've always been negotiable. It's never been a set in stone, list must get 3, buy must get 3, end of story. Always been negotiable. And it just so happens that in some markets, the average is 5%. In other markets, the average is 6%. List side gets a portion of that. They offer a portion of that to the buy side to bring all the demand, which we know demand drives up price. And so it'll be interesting to see how it shakes out. As a mortgage broker, and for most of the real estate agents I'm talking to, nothing, is going to change in our daily activities. The ones that already do a great job of communicating their value and what they bring and why they're, compensated for it, are going to continue to do that. Another thing I've heard, which I think is true and good in general, is if people were on the fence of, I don't know if this is for me, didn't take it serious and run their business as a business, weren't really providing value, if they leave the business, nobody's hurt, right? The consumer is left with higher qualified individuals. So once this all shakes and sorts out, I think we'll be in a better place than where we started.
I think that's absolutely true. The Instagram agents, they're going to be gone, right? The ones that were just doing it for the pictures or whatever, they're going to be gone. The professionals will stand out. I think that's true. I still feel for the first-time home buyers. I was talking to Adrian right before our discussion, and he's like, this might be so bad for the first-time home buyers that it's another reason for Renter Nation, right? If you got to come up with 2% to pay the buy side, or even 1%, some of the California markets, that's like real money.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. And I know it, because I'm looking at applications every single day. First time home buyers, like, the down payment is the biggest hurdle. You can't add another 1%, 2%, 3% to that hurdle that they can't jump as it is. And the thing that people should remember is these headlines. Don't get me started on the media, right? Like, in order to create clicks, there's headlines: real estate prices are going to come down, commissions to agents are gone. Like, it's the most ludicrous stuff that has no basis in reality. And at the end of the day, as a buyer, especially a first-time home buyer, it's not that you want this representation because you're going to get, the best price. You're going to be able to negotiate repairs. You're going to have all the legal jargon explained to you. You're going to be protected. You need it. You really, really need it. Right. And so, it's a interesting time to be in real estate. And
well, let's switch gears a little bit. We got a Fed meeting, or at least a Fed announcement, in 49 minutes. What are the chances rates go down, rates go up, rates stay flat? Where are you on all of that?
Yeah, I mean, I think this one is probably the easiest prediction we've made in a long time, where it's like 99.99%. Did you know, I just saw this morning, Mike, that when the Fed doesn't change up or down this meeting, I think it's going to be the second longest
Mhm.
plateau between their
The last rate
latest
hike and
hike and their
yeah.
first cut since like 06, 07.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
so, I think that is, a foregone conclusion, but I think you've said it, and I know it, like the dot plot has
Oh,
never, like, there's never been more people like with their eyes on the dot plot. What will they say? What's going to
yeah.
happen?
Well,
And
let's
so,
talk
yeah,
about that. Let's talk
maybe our
about that.
predictions are dot plot today.
Absolutely. Let's do dot because again, I think that it's a 100% chance they stay right where they are. They're not going up or down. So
Yeah.
let's just that's boring.
Right. And so
But
for perspective for people, back in December, they expected three cuts in 2024.
yep,
And like we continue to see predictions of 2 and 3 rate
yep.
cuts in 2024. So
Yeah. So what do you think too? What do you think that if I were to tell you, because I think that's going to be market moving. I think the market is expecting I think the market's expecting the Fed to be more hawkish and thus two rate cuts. What do you think?
yeah, I think they're expecting that too, as well. not
Yeah.
not two, but as
Yeah.
so
As well.
so so
Yeah.
maybe there's a 65% shot that they plot out 2 rate cuts in
Okay.
2024 and a 35% chance that it's 3.
Okay.
um
Yeah.
because yeah, I feel that sentiment, and even I reserve the right to change my mind and
Yeah.
whatnot. It feels like the Fed is in no hurry, and
Yeah.
they're going to let this play out because they've said it, and it makes sense to me. It's better to wait a little longer than needed than
Hmm.
to cut too soon and go, oh
Absolutely.
shoot,
Yeah.
we
Got to go back. Yeah.
let go of this inflation animal too soon, and he's running wild again.
Yeah. Well, you know what I actually think the most interesting question is going to be is last in December, all Fed presidents said that they were at the terminal rate. All of them, meaning they weren't going higher. I have a sneaky suspicion we're going to see a couple of dots higher. It won't be most of them. It won't, but it's going to be, it won't be zero. I think there's going to be at least two that we need to do one more rate hike this year. What do you think?
That wouldn't surprise me. I don't know if I would agree with it that we need to do that. I still think that there's just some lagging stuff that we need to let time work its
Yep.
magic.
Yep.
But yeah, if 2 out of 10,
18, 2 out of 18.
2 out of 18, yeah, say that
I think two
say
are going to say, I think it's coming. And I think this is part of the whole Fed higher for longer, right? They want us, they want the market to react, I think. And I think that's going to take two of those dots saying we're going up one more time.
Yep, for sure. You know what I want to talk about next, Mike, because
Yep.
this is a good segue. The dot plot, what the Fed does, what interest rates do, how real estate commissions are going to be handled, all of this other stuff that a lot of us pay a lot of attention to is great. But as a practitioner of mortgage and helping people with real estate transactions, I'm getting more and more evidence that none of this stuff matters near as much as life.
Oh,
Life
agreed.
is why people buy real estate. So I did something this morning, and I thought it was a fun little exercise for me. I went into my Arrive software and I said, how many applications have I taken year to date? 68. How many pre-approvals have I done year to date? 46. And then I just started scrolling and I go, oh yeah, they need a bigger house. They've got a growing family. They're going to move to a new area. Most of the conversations with them weren't around, well, none of the conversations were around what is the Fed going to do. In my conversations, Mike, we talk about structuring a mortgage where we're not paying a lot up front because we think rates are going down. But like, they're going to buy regardless of whether it's 6.875, 7 1/8, 7 3/8. Like that's it. And so I just took some notes. I got buyers that are living in the city and they're like, the city's not really kid friendly. One, we need more room. And while we're going to a house with more room, we're going to go to Pacifica, a little bit nicer than having kids in the city.
Okay.
Another set of buyers moved out from the East Coast. They rented in Sacramento for 6 months. We got a feel for the city. We're not renters. We're homeowners. We're going to buy a house. We just wanted to get a feel. Engaged, had this buyer pre-approved 5 years ago. He's like, dang it, Matt, I should have bought. Sorry for not listening. Buying.
Oops.
Retired NYPD, moving to Florida, gonna buy. Another buyer downsizing. Their house is too much to maintain. And they're like, there's 4 of us, but we don't need 4,000 square feet. We'll do just fine in 1,800. We'll have less stuff to clean up. We'll have less of a bill for somebody to come help us clean. Still talking to investors, still running scenarios on HELOCs.
Yeah, I think this is awesome because you're absolutely right. The broken housing market, it's not the dot plots, it's not even the Fed that fixes it, it's time. And it takes years to unwind this. Marriage, divorce, death, babies, job transfers, retirement, all of those things. And we'll still do 4 to 4.4 million transactions this year.
Right.
Life happens regardless of the rate. Dude, we did like 3 million I think it was 2.2 million transactions when rates were 18%. Right? It still happens. It's, just less of them.
Yeah. And people that think that there's going to be some like evaporation of demand, you can look at demographics and say, the average buyer, the buyers that are having the most life events happen that kind of catapult you into home ownership, which is married, kids, things like that. Like that's mid 30s for the most part. When you look at
34, 35. Yep.
You know how many people are turning 35 every day, Mike?
Oh, I have no idea.
I saw a stat that's 12,000 people a day.
Oh my goodness. Wow.
Yeah. And so that's above average.
A lot of people. That's a lot of people. Yeah.
Right. And so, again, my deepest condolences to the doomers. Like there's a lot of stuff working against you. And so I'm sorry to report, the demand side of this whole thing continues to see people moving into,
and it gets stronger. It gets stronger. I'm a big believer in this. The rates stay where they are. Buyers get used to it. What we've had for the last 2 years is this. This is not good. But if we just we stay at 7% all year. By Q3, people are forgotten 5%.
Yeah.
They'll just transact.
Is some of the language I'm hearing is different, and I'll give you an example. It used to be for a first-time home buyer, Californians are used to higher payments. And so it used to be like 2,500 was the number of like, hey, even if I'm renting for 22 or 23, I'm willing to go to 25 I had the conversation yesterday and it surprised me. And so like, this is in my memory now. I said, before we did some rough napkin math, 127,000 a year in income, little to no debt. Napa might be too expensive, but you're looking at Vacaville. And I just said, in your mind, before we like say what you're qualified for, your budget better than I do. What's a mortgage payment you're comfortable and wouldn't necessarily want to go above? I'm expecting to hear something and I'm having to reset expectations and say, well, rates, prices.
Yeah. Yep.
He told me 4,000. And wow. For the first time I go, you know what? You're going to net 220. You're going to put that down on 650. Your payment's going to be 36, right?
Yeah,
so you're in good shape. For the first time in a long time, Mike, I'm like, holy shit. Like I got to beat expectations. I got to tell you that, goody gumdrops, only 3,600. We could do that. Some people sounds crazy. And really, to your point, as time goes by, it went from like, I'm looking for a $2,500 payment. Oh my gosh, 36 to, I get it. Rates are higher. Mortgage payments are higher. I'm looking to
keep rates at 7%. Let's just, I hope rates stay at 7% all year. We just need time to unmess up the housing market.
Yep. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Well, very cool. If somebody wanted to reach out, get pre-approved, ask what in mortgage, how do they do that?
Just go to greatmortgagebroker.com, fill out a quick form. I've got people email me as well, which is fine. Matt@mtmg.com. If you just have a quick one-off question, if you've got a loan estimate and you're like, hey, I need someone to review this real quick. Am I, getting ripped off? Matt@mtmg.com. Or if you want, if you're in any of the states we operate in, which is 48 out of 50, and you want to get to the person who can help you in Arizona or Texas or Tennessee the fastest, quick form, where you're at, what you're looking to do. We'll be in touch. That's at greatmortgagebroker.com.
That's awesome. Thanks, buddy.
Thanks, Mike.